I'm very pleased to welcome you to this crucial online panel discussion, which centers on the vital theme of parliamentary solidarity with our fellow parliamentarians who find themselves at risk. Throughout history, we have seen the extraordinary resilience and courage of parliamentarians who have faced persecution for their beliefs. Many have endured imprisonment, threats to their lives, and exile, all in the name of upholding the democratic ideals we hold dear. It is our moral obligation to stand in solidarity with these individuals and ensure their sacrifices are not in vain. The Committee on the Human Rights of Parliamentarians, established by the Inter-Parliamentary Union in 1976, plays a pivotal role in safeguarding parliamentarians who find themselves in perilous situations. It serves as a beacon of hope, ensuring that the voices of the silenced are not forgotten and that the rights enshrined in international law are upheld. I am honored to serve as this committee's vice president and to work in the spirit of parliamentary fraternity by raising awareness and spearheading action in the face of reprisal against parliamentarians who are simply exercising their parliamentary mandate. By doing so, we send a clear message. An attack on one parliamentarian's rights is an attack on the institution of democracy itself. Indeed, the support and advocacy of fellow parliamentarians can make an immense difference. The collective voice of the international parliamentary community is a powerful tool for change, shining a spotlight on human rights abuses and demanding accountability from those who perpetrate them. Our discussion today does not aim to zoom in on specific national situations, but rather to offer an opportunity to explore strategies and best practices for strengthening our commitment to parliamentary solidarity. Indeed, how can we enhance our advocacy efforts? How can we better coordinate with international, regional, and national organizations and civil society to protect the rights of parliamentarians at risk? These are the questions we must grapple with collectively even as we go on with this workshop. As we gather here today, we are joined by three distinguished panelists who bring a wealth of knowledge and experience to this discussion. Their insight and perspective will undoubtedly enrich our understanding of the challenges faced by parliamentarians at risk and the role we can collectively play in addressing these challenges. Let me briefly introduce each of the panelists. You'll excuse me, Mr. Boris, if I don't get your name correctly, but our first expert is Mr. Boris Mijatovic. Mr. Boris is a member of the German Bundestag and spokesman for human rights and humanitarian aid for the Alliance 90, or the Greens Parliamentary Group. Mr. Mijatovic is a member of the German Parliament Committee on Human Rights and Humanitarian Aid and is responsible for the Parliamentarians Protect Parliamentarians program within the parliamentary group. Mr. Mijatovic will speak to you about this program and also hope that it will allow parliaments to consider taking similar action to protect members of parliament at risk. Our second panelist today is Ms. Anita Vandenbelt. She has been a member of the House of Commons of Canada since 2015. Ms. Vandenbelt is an international expert on democracy and human rights. She has worked in over 20 countries in issues inclusive of governance and women's leadership, and the organizations include UN and regional organizations. She is a member of the Parliamentary Rapid Response Team of Parliamentarians for Global Action, where we worked with her, and will share with us how this rapid response team came about and what it has been able to achieve. Our third speaker is MS Sarah Elago from the Philippines. MS Elago is an activist and was a member of the House of Representatives of the Philippines between 2016 and 2022. As a young female politician, she faced serious obstacles, including legal intimidation, aimed at making it difficult for her to exercise her parliamentary mandate. She will tell you about her direct experience and the importance of parliamentary solidarity for those at risk. After that very elaborate description of our experts, I will have the honor to invite Mr. Mijatovic to have the floor. Mr. Mijatovic, please. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Ms. Odiambo. You pronounced my name very well. It took me a much longer time to pronounce it that well. So thank you very much for this. I'm very delighted to be with you. I would like to launch the presentation, but I'm not the host. So if the technique can make me host, then I can give you my slides to look at this. Thank you for the invitation in the meantime. Thank you for having me. I would like to introduce you to a program here in Germany that we launched about 20 years ago. The German name is Parliamentarians Protect Parliamentarians. So in German, protect is safe or schützen. So if I recount on the short term PSP, don't worry. This is the German short form. So let me try to launch the hang on. So let me try this button. So this is my desktop, and now we will see. 1, 2, 3. So now you can see my desktop, and I will try to give you the presentation. Can you see this now? Perfect. So the PSP is a milestone in the parliamentarian history, and a milestone in parliamentarian solidarity. Back in December 2003, the Bundestag adopted a joint parliamentarian motion on the protection of threatened persons, human rights defenders, to participate in the IPU initiative to protect parliamentarians worldwide. I'm particularly convenient that I'm presenting it here in the context of this event. The program is the Bundestag's way to fulfill its voluntary commitment made in the IPU framework to contribute to the protection and promotion of human rights. The basic idea is simple, and as simple as that, and well known to all of you. We, as members of the Bundestag, we are lucky to be able to carry out our work in a safe environment. And we would like to deliver this safety to people under threat. So we use our network of international contacts on behalf of fellow parliamentarians who are at risk. The basic idea has remained the same since the program was founded 20 years ago, but it has also developed and evolved. Currently, we have 95 members of the German parliament that take care for parliamentarians and other people. They have adopted a total of 187 people at risk all over the globe. So on the slide, you can see the presentation of the homepage of the website of the Bundestag, where my fellow colleagues present their cases. They are not only members of the human rights committees, this is very important. They come from a broad range of political subjects. But more importantly than that, as parliamentarians, we also support people who do not stand in human rights, but also outside of parliament. So it's not only parliamentarians, but also artists, social activists, climate activists, etc., etc. Among the many courageous people, among the many courageous MPs, sorry for that. Something is that me? No, it's you, right? Okay. So all over the world, we protect activists in their work and highlight their incredible courage and energy for their societies inside and outside of parliament. Like I said, in many countries all over the world, where people are putting themselves into danger, we try to assist. So we have had a huge number of cooperation with our administration, and there are some conditions I would like to highlight in this moment. If you want to join the parliamentarian program, Parliamentarians Protect Parliamentarians program, we have to meet some preconditions, and this is done by the administration. So one of the conditions is the people that we want to protect or adopt must or shall agree to be included in the program, of course. And secondly, if possible, support is helpful in the individual case. So is there more threats to come for families, for example? We have to look into this very thoroughly. The administration is helping us. We'll look at that on the next slide. Also for other issues. We don't protect people that have penal cases for other personal failures. We do not protect members of terrorist groups, for example, which is something the administration is looking at in exchange with the person taking care of the situation. So what we are doing is, or what is the exact structure of the program is that we have to a certain degree an exchange with the administration, so we can have support from experts to look into the personal background of any case that I mentioned. The Secretariat, so the administration's body, suggests to the MPs who to adopt or gives special information on the particular person and refers people whose partner MPs and also refers people whose partner MPs have left the parliament. So, as you know, we are all elected only for some time. If we change the parliament, then we have to hand over our cases to the new generation. They work in cooperation, so the administration works in cooperation with us. So the German Federal Foreign Office helps us, helps the IPU, helps human rights NGOs to compile briefing notes with the names of the threatened or persecuted parliamentarians and human rights defenders in that specific country. We as members of the parliament then use this information to decide how we can best help these persons. So to give you some idea, I have chosen a personal case that I'm taking care of. So what we do usually in some cases or in the moments is writing letters, like I said here on the right side. We try to address ambassadors, governments, and we try in general to highlight a tendency for the case. So let me briefly to the end show you the case that I'm taking care of from Cuba. Luis Manuel Otero Alcantara is a Cuban artist, and he's one of the key figures of the San Isidro movement. San Isidro movement is in Cuba known for activism on the Decreto 349, an edict censoring artists in Cuba. So Luis Manuel is only one person out of many, but he's been chosen as one of the key figures, and he's now representing an entire group. His personal case is that he was arrested in 2020 and declared political prisoner by Amnesty International. So 2020, first time he was arrested. He was released after 2 weeks, but got arrested a second time a few months later because he's still engaged in this San Isidro movement, naming and framing social distances to the government's politics. The following year, the authorities confiscated his artwork, and Luis Manuel began a hunger strike and was then imprisoned a third time. He was released a month later, but not for long. Some of you will remember maybe 2021. It was a public or worldwide notice. The day were the largest protests since 1994 in Cuba against the government and against the communist parties. Thousands of people took place and stressed and protested against the state in their politics. So Luis was in there. He was arrested again and for the fourth time, and he is arrested ever since. So what did I try to do? I try to highlight the situation. We had an art exhibition in my hometown in Germany, which is very famous, where he presented his arts, and he was part of a description what happened to him. We tried to contact him. I tried to follow his case in prison. I looked for his fellows as well, by the way. He has a friend, Michael, who is a hip hop artist, and they have been active in summer again. And Michael sued his mouth because he wanted to show that the government forbids him to speak. So these kind of things happen. And what we try to do is support these persons the best we can. So like I said from the beginning, we have 95 members of German Bundestag out of 736. That is a lot. We try to help them to address and write letters, to take care of their cases, to maintain and keep an eye on what is going on, and to highlight the cases for public appearance. So this is a lot of cases, and I hope we will find other parliaments to join in this program, and would be very happy if this little presentation helped you to decide and pursue others as well. Of course, you can have the presentation afterwards, and I'm very happy to stand for the questions now. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mijakovic, for that excellent presentation. I think that is very illuminating as a good practice, which is not existing in a lot of the countries. And I'm sure the participants are finding it interesting. I'm sure you'll get some comments or questions at the end of this. Let me now take the opportunity to invite MS van der Belt to make her presentation. Thank you very much once again.
Well, thank you very much. Can you hear me? Is the audio okay? Good. It's a tremendous pleasure to be here and to be asked to speak about a program that Parliamentarians for Global Action started about 5 years ago called PART. It is the Parliamentary Rapid Response Team. And just to give a little bit of history of how this came about, before politics, I worked around the world on human rights, on women's rights. And I think that for many of us, we all have in our parliaments the opportunity to make statements. In the Canadian House of Commons, before question period every day, there's 15 minutes set aside for any member of parliament to stand up and make a 1-minute declaration of anything that they wish. And often these are used to highlight something in our constituency. They could be used to reinforce a party message or something that we personally want to raise and draw attention to. But I think that often members of parliament underutilize the power of a statement in a parliamentary assembly. And what I did early on is because I had been the NDI country director in the Democratic Republic of Congo, I was hearing a number of things that were happening under the former President Kabila. And one day I did make a statement, a 1-minute statement. And because I still knew a lot of people that were still in the political sphere in DRC, I heard back that the president and the people around him had actually heard the statement. And at that point had said, we need to pull back on some of these disappearances and human rights abuses. And they actually did. And it's something that I raised later on when I was at the World Movement for Democracy Global Assembly, because I think that when one member of parliament makes a statement somewhere in the world, if that can cause a leader somewhere to take note, can you only imagine if 5 or 10 or 15 members of parliament from different continents, from different parts of the world, at the same time, on the same day, were to stand up and make the same kind of statement? And so when I was at the World Movement for Democracy, there was a convening of members of parliament. And I found that many other parliaments had similar things, as we just learned from Germany. And there was a real interest. And PGA took that up and created the PART. And it's a fairly informal network. It is a steering committee made up of members of parliament from around the world that will, I mean, we used to be on WhatsApp. Now we go on Signal. We just speak to one another. The Secretariat of PGA does provide us support. And the intake can be anything. It can be one of the steering committee members. It can be from something PGA has heard from one of their members. It could come from IPU. It could come from any source. And then what we've done is we've issued urgent action alerts, particularly focused on if a member of parliament is having their rights denied, or if a parliament is backsliding when it comes to democratic processes. But we've also broadened it as former members of parliament, and we've made statements, for instance, when the Ugandan parliament earlier this year passed legislation against LGBTI plus citizens. So just as an example, one of the ones that I brought forward was through the Canadian diaspora community from Burundi, who brought to my attention the situation of Fabien Bankia-Nanino, who was a former MP, spoke out on human rights, and was arrested in October of 2020. In April 21, PART actually issued a statement. We put it out on Twitter, we put it out on the website about this, calling for his release. And 6 months later, he was released. Now, whether or not that played a part, we will, of course, never know. But that's the kind of thing that we were doing as part of the rapid response team. Another piece that I wanted to flag in terms of the PART is the role for MPs in exile. One of our members, Mariam Soumankil, she brought, of course, the world saw when the Taliban took over and a number of the women MPs in Afghanistan were no longer able to act in their roles as MPs. And then the tragic killing of Murzal Nabizada, she brought that to our attention. And because we had a group already, because we didn't have to use informal networks and spread the word one by one the way we normally do as parliamentarians with our own networks, because there existed a rapid response team, we very quickly were able to issue a statement on behalf of all of the MPs from around the world condemning that killing. And I think that the speed with which these statements can be made is something that's one of the key features of the PART, the Parliamentary Rapid Response Team. So there's a number of other things. We've engaged with the Stop Violence Against Women Parliamentarians project of PGA. We've made a number of other statements on issues that are emerging. But that's not the only thing. There's 2 other things I wanted to bring up today, and I'm happy to answer questions about PART, but also in the Canadian Parliament. Similar to the German Bundestag, it's not facilitated by the Parliament itself, but we have an all-party human rights caucus called the Raoul Wallenberg Caucus. And this is an outside organization that's headed by the very renowned human rights defender in Canada, Erwin Kotler. And he has convened, he was a former justice minister as well, convened members of parliament from all parties. And several years ago, they put together the Nelson Mandela Project. And this was very similar. It was about adopting members of parliament or human rights defenders in other countries so that we could pair one-on-one and sponsor that person. Through that process, I sponsored The former senator at the time when she was arrested was a senator, Leila de Lima of the Philippines. And over the years, I've made statements. I've been in touch with her directly through her lawyers and through her in prison, and kept that on the forefront. And of course, now she's been 6 years in detention. I started speaking out after only 2 years, but this is the kind of partnership that we're doing through this. It's an outside NGO, but it's done by all party members in the Canadian Parliament. And then the other thing that I wanted to bring up, of course, is at one point I was the chair of the Canadian Subcommittee on International Human Rights. I'm still a member of that committee. And it is an all-party committee that operates only on consensus. And it gives it some power because when that subcommittee speaks, it speaks on behalf of all parties in the House. It is not partisan, and we leave our partisanship at the door when we enter that subcommittee. And most of the members of that committee have some background in human rights. And one of the things that I have seen is just by inviting somebody to testify, you can give a tremendous validation. And when I was the chair of the subcommittee, we initiated a Human Rights Defenders Award, primarily for women human rights defenders. And once a year, we invite them to come to Canada to give a statement before the subcommittee. And then there's usually an award given by the Speaker of Parliament and a small reception where they can be recognized. And as I said, it's all party consensus. So all members can put in names, and then every party has to agree on who is the one that gets the award. And one thing I just want to leave you with is that we had one member who won this award who came to Canada. And after she was recognized, she looked at me and she said she had been under arrest several times in her country because of her human rights defender, the work that she was doing. And she said, because of this, because the Canadian Parliament invited me, my people now know that I am no criminal. And so again, I think that the validation that we can provide when we give that 1 minute in the House of Commons, when we make a statement, when we sponsor or adopt. One other aspect is that many Canadian parliamentarians, particularly the Women's Caucus, have adopted prisoners in Iran since the Women Life Freedom Movement. And these are the kinds of things, not specifically on parliamentarians, but using our voice as parliamentarians to speak out for human rights defenders. But the part is very much focused on parliamentarians and on parliaments. And I invite all of you, in addition to the questions that you may have about it, to also engage with it. If you know of a parliament or a parliamentarian at risk, please do send that to the Secretariat at PGA so that they can get that to our steering committee. And we could then look at, and again, it's very informal, but we would look at whether or not we should make a statement about that and use our combined voices, because I truly believe that when we as legislators use our combined voices, there's a power in that. There is a tremendous amount that we can do together, and we can amplify the voices of those who are not able to speak. So thank you very much.
You need to turn on your voice.
Thank you, sorry. Thank you, Ms. Wadenbell. You have done very well. We can see a lot going on in Canada and Germany, and I think it is actually something that we can emulate in our regions. I'm already seeing a number of members commenting. You even have comment from Yemen that is facing challenges. So there's work cut out for us as members of parliament. And I think there's a lot to learn from these good practices in our different and respective parliaments. And thank you for reminding us that sometimes we have tools that we can use and sometimes we forget to use. And thank you very much for the networking spirit and looking out for each other. Let me take this opportunity to now invite Ms. Elako from the Philippines to also share with us. Welcome.
Thank you, MP Odhiambo. Greetings to the honorable members of parliaments, distinguished officials, and organizers of this IPU event, and to all participants who are joining us online from many parts of the world. My name is Sarah Elago, a former member of Congress from the Philippines. Parliaments have a central part in democracy, from maintaining and strengthening the system of checks and balances to ensuring respect for human rights and oversight of government functions. So parliamentarians themselves have to rely on the free exercise of their fundamental freedoms to be able to perform their mandate fully and safely. This is why an attack on their parliamentary work concerns us all. With this, I'd like to share about our work on parliamentary solidarity and in supporting MPs under threat, despite having experienced multiple attacks myself for doing my job as an MP. I was targeted and singled out for being a representative of a youth party with our members who are young people and students, taking the lead in organizing their ranks in speaking truth to power and holding power to account. I have been at the receiving end of fabricated charges and baseless false accusations in a desperate attempt to silence us and divert attention away from the issues we bring to the fore. My case was actually taken up by the IPU in the year 2021. Here is a snippet of a Facebook takedown report on removing coordinated inauthentic behavior with posts about our youth representation, as stated in the report, that although the people behind this activity attempted to conceal their identities, their investigation found links to the Philippine military and Philippine police. Here are some examples. One says, and I quote, "An activist in the past, now a virus." Other similar post is a photo of me having crown-shaped coronavirus on my head with the text, "Coronavirus of the youth, a burden in society." There were also posts like this containing threats to life. So now, how do we strive and challenge all these attacks? First, it's really important to continue doing your job, to keep on showing up if you safely can, and also show up for others under threat too. We have participated in various support MPs at risk campaigns to defend free, critical, progressive representation in Congress. And in the ASEAN region, a network of parliamentarians for human rights, the ASEAN Parliamentarians for Human Rights, who are also here with us in this meeting. We have documented since 2019 several Philippine MPs who have faced judicial harassment and drop-up charges, as well as verbal and physical threats amidst a widespread campaign of vilification. Those targeted mainly include lawmakers who have spoken out for human rights. And in this regard, the APHR has likewise called for the release of former Senator Laila de Lima and to have all the charges against her dropped already, as her detention reaches 6 years to date. Here are what we've done so far. It's important to raise awareness on the impacts of targeted disinformation and attacks on congressional representation and participation, as it incites hate that puts representation and also our membership at risk. It can cause potentially irreparable damage from stigma, harassment, and violation of rights. It also sets the stage for disqualification cases and other trump-up charges, which can lead to election loss as it drains our resources and attempts to distract us and discredit our work. It also reeks with misogyny and sexism and create a chilling effect to society. So with the raising of this awareness, it can encourage more members of Congress, Parliament to speak up on this issue and hopefully draw attention to the cases and issues of MPs under threat and also help protect them. Here are some photos from various spaces of engagement. This is a photo from an assembly of the ASEAN Parliamentarians for Human Rights, wherein those participating MPs and human rights defenders joined a Black Friday protest a day of action to call for an end to political persecution. We have also launched online and on-site signature campaigns, gathering thousands of campaigns online and in various spaces of gathering of groups for various advocacies. Then there are also experiences we're in upholding women representation in the Philippines, since the Women's Party here is also under attack for standing up for women's rights. They have launched campaigns to highlight their legislative accomplishments and ensure that they are able to challenge all the legal attacks against them. There's also active constituent engagement. It's important to build the capacity of the party membership in documenting, the reporting, all the attacks they are experiencing in their localities and even online. So we've also been implementing age and development appropriate human rights education and paralegal and documentation training. There are also efforts to work on legislative and policy action, specifically on the promotion of critical media and information literacy, call for the transparency in data use and targeting, engaging multi-stakeholder approach in holding techs and governments accountable for state-sponsored disinformation, the promotion of the rights of human rights defenders, strengthening people's right to information, and upholding freedom of expression. The support and collaboration with groups who are working on advocacy campaigns and programs on democracy, human rights, justice, and peace make a great deal of difference. One of the organization is a group of members of Congress who are working on human rights. And as I've mentioned, the APHR, whose secretariat have been supporting us in the promotion of human rights, not only in the Philippines, but in the ASEAN region. We've also worked with and alongside media and fact-checking movements and network. And the invitation to participate not just as a sitting MP, but as a former MP and the representatives of our chapters from the Youth Party to participate in Inter-Parliamentary solidarity, advocacy, and fact-finding missions. So that would be all for now, sharing some of the good practices, things we've done to help support MPs at risk and help defend the defenders and stand up for human rights. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Oops. Hello? Thank you very much. That was very, very useful. And that was very important and powerful presentation there from personal experience. And I'm sure the members have actually benefited a lot. I want to thank our three presenters for those very powerful presentations. I am going at this point to open the floor for those who may have questions or who may want to give a comment. And before we do that, informed we have a chairman of the Senate of Afghanistan with us today. I'll give you like 1 or 2 minutes just to give a brief comment or remarks, and then we'll open the floor for everybody else. Please.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Muhtaram Chairman of the IPO, the Bashar Hukuk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. خوشحال یم چې نن 2 کاله بعد د افغانستان د پارلمان د سنا په نمایندګۍ د بشر حقوقو د کمیټې مشر او د آی پی او د کمیټې سره تماس کې او دلته په کانفرنس کې زموږ د سنا مرستیال ستانکزی صاحب او د دارالشاه مشر ناصري صاحب حضور لري. دا چې زه په پښتو خبرې کوم او په افغاني ژبه خبرې کوم دا چې انګلیسي ته ژباړل کیږي ډېر وخت به ونیسي غوښتل مې چې د
Sorry, but do we have a translation?
محترم مشر نه او د ټول غړو د
Are we getting?
No,
He
maybe.
just said that since I'm talking in Pashto, I want to transfer my speech to someone else who is speaking in English. Just give him, he's finishing.
Okay, then you will translate.
You
Go ahead. Go ahead.
نو غواړم چې صرف د مننې ترڅنګ تاسو خو پوهیږئ چې د افغانستان په وضعیت باندې د ټولو هغه دوستانو نه چې خویندو ورونو چې پریزنټیشن وړاندې کړ او د خپل او د نړۍ دردونه په نوښتي او پارلمانونو ته توصیه وکړو. متاسفانه افغانستان په هر پارلمان نه لري. زموږ په نمائندګۍ دلته معاون صاحب حضور لري او رئیس عبدالشاه په دې په خاطر چې په انګلیسي ژبه خبرې وخت ضایع نشي مستقیم ځما اعلامیه ستاسو حضور ته وړاندې.
First of all, I offer my greetings, best wishes, and respects to all our colleagues and participants of the session and from different countries. Pleasure to be the participant of the online panel discussion on parliamentary solidarity. I'm thanking from you, head of this committee, and then it might take more time when I speak Pashto and then it translated to English. So therefore, I want to my statement and speech to be shared by my General Secretary, Mr. Abdul Muqtadir Nasri, and also our Deputy of the Senate, Mr. Stanagzai, are available in the session. I'm happy to hear that he is here and will say more about Senate's member and Afghan parliaments. Therefore, that we do not waste more time, and our General Secretary, Mr. Abdul Muqtadir Nasri, will say our speech and statement to the session.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You can go ahead.
Your Excellency, Chairman. I will just finish his speech in 1.5 minutes. I will be too sharp. He says, I would like to appreciate the solidarity initiative and the effort of this platform in relation to MPs under threat, and considering the composition of this platform and the executive role of its members in their own countries, I'm sure that such a strong network can do much great things for its member MPs in each corner of the world. I don't want to take much of your time by presenting the situation of Afghanistan, since you all know that in the last 2 years, many countries has opened their doors to a number of Afghan senators and MPs and provide them with protection, as well as the timely statement of IPU, which was released immediately after the collapse of the Republic and called for global assistance in cooperation with Afghans. We appreciate all of these things. As I said, some members of Afghan National Assembly, including senators and MPs, are already protected, but most of them are still living with fatalist situation in Afghanistan, Pakistan, Iran, Turkey, Tajikistan, and some other countries. Despite of all of the support provided yet, considering the fatalist condition of these senators and MPs within the last 2 years, I would like to have a very friendly and soft complaint to the platform that why, with having such a strong platform, still there is not satisfactory progress in protection of the more eligible friends of you. Even if I talk about myself, after repeated conversations between the IPU and the Secretary General, IPU HR team has approached me directly and talked to me, and I have shared my concerns. You may believe it or not, I'm right now in Kabul, and I'm online with you from Kabul, and you people can understand the circumstances. And I'm so sorry that I won't be very clear with you today, and I'm sure you can understand me in my condition, my situation. You know that during the last 2 years, MPs are killed, and as Anita mentioned, Mursal Nabizada, they were threatened, imprisoned, and we have reported each single case to IPU. I and other senators who are still alive in Kabul, and we are lucky that we are still alive, and thanks God for that. But please note that it's not only being alive, not any other single basic rights, and breathing and feeling threat in each breathe in each moment. I don't want to disappoint you. I don't want to make you disappoint with my statements. I can understand the limitations of authorities, limitation of resources, and lengthy process and bureaucracies. But don't blame us for our expectations, and hope you understand the circumstances the Afghan senators and MPs are passing through. I have very practical opinions and inputs for the efforts for supporting MPs under threat. But as said earlier, I'm not able to talk bold in this huge platform. But if any interested one approach me directly or through the Secretary General, I will appreciate and will provide you with concrete information from the real ground that I am living in. We have so many demands from the international community in regards to Afghanistan, but as this platform is specifically for the MPs under threat, so I would also narrow my proposal in this specific area and would request attention of each member of this platform to support for the support of Afghan senators and MPs and parliamentary staff. Thank you all.
Thank you very much for sharing. Thank you, Chairman. And this is the reason why we are holding this forum, because it's a solidarity forum. And we have had you, and the committee will pick up that issue, and we will get back to you. And as you have correctly said, we will look at the specific issues that have been raised and get in touch with you in person. I'm sure you understand that in a forum such as this, we may not go into details, but we do hear you, we understand you, and this is the reason we are holding a forum such as this. And I'll take this opportunity to invite other participants who may wish to comment or raise questions. I would ask that if you wish to intervene, I ask you to go to the reaction button, which is at the bottom of your screen, and press the raise your hand option. And to help us steer the discussion, I ask you to make sure that your name and country clearly appear on the screen so that we can duly note them in the list of the speakers. And I can see already we have a hand from Mr. Fati Ayadi. Go ahead.
Merci beaucoup pour cette occasion de parler avec les députés interparlementaires. Je suis Fathi Ayadi, député de la Tunisie, Parlement tunisien. Depuis 2011 jusqu'à 2021, j'ai été député à l'Assemblée nationale des représentants des Tunisiens. Donc, j'aimerais parler de notre situation, car notre situation ne concerne pas seulement un député ou un parlementaire, ça concerne notre Parlement, c'est-à-dire concerne tous les 217 députés. Après le coup d'État de Kais Saied en 2021, le 25 juillet 2021, notre Parlement est suspendu et jusqu'à maintenant, notre président du Parlement est en prison et il y a aussi des députés qui sont aussi en prison. Donc, notre stratégie, c'était de chercher la solidarité avec nous. Nous avons insisté à plusieurs fois à des assemblées de l'IPU à Vienne, par exemple. Le thème, c'était le défi de la démocratie à Madrid et à plusieurs fois. Donc, on a essayé de contacter les députés à l'Assemblée, à l'IPU, et on a aussi essayé de contacter les parlementaires européens. Nous avons visité Bruxelles plusieurs fois et nous avons aussi visité Canada, nous avons visité aussi USA, nous avons visité aussi Berlin. Donc, on connaît bien les parlementaires allemands, les parlementaires français, les parlementaires européens. On a essayé donc d'agir pour trouver une solidarité avec notre Parlement, avec notre président du Parlement, avec tous les parlementaires en Tunisie. Nous vivons sous un régime autoritaire, sous un régime populiste. Donc, il n'y a rien en Tunisie, il n'y a pas de démocratie, il n'y a pas de rien, de vie politique en Tunisie. Il n'y a rien. Et espérons que la solidarité avec nous Donc, nous avons constaté après un peu de temps que la solidarité ne s'était pas, comment dirais-je en français, c'était pas intéressant, c'était pas dans tout ce que nous voulons. Donc, nous avons eu des résolutions européennes, du Parlement européen et aussi de l'EPU, et après un temps, donc, tous ces parlementaires essayent donc de trouver un compromis avec le Kais Saïd et n'est pas de défendre la démocratie en Tunisie. Nous ne sommes pas loin de Berlin, nous ne sommes pas loin de l'Union européenne, nous sommes à deux heures donc, de vol. Donc nous vivons dans une ville, dans un milieu démocrate et nous espérons que la Tunisie reçoit de nouveau la démocratie en Tunisie. Notre président donc se trouve en prison maintenant et des députés se trouvent aussi en prison. Aimerons qu'on trouve donc une bonne solidarité avec nous et merci.
Thank you very much for your remarks. And I just want to urge, and we do understand the situation in Tunisia, and we are recording and we'll pick up the issues that are raised. But I want to request all our participants to be brief in our remarks and to focus on the best strategies to enhance parliamentary solidarity in support of parliamentarians at risk. As I mentioned earlier, we do not seek to single out specific situations, but rather to discuss and find ways to enhance our collaboration to help offer better protection and redress to parliamentarians who need it. So going forward, I request that when you are speaking, because there's a lot of interest, be very brief, and as much as possible, if you have individual cases, we know the process that we know how to reach a committee, but today we are seeking concrete ways or strategies. I'll give a chance to Sabine and Takarutimana. Sorry if I didn't get it correct. Takarutimana. Sabine, please go ahead.
Merci beaucoup. Merci, Madame la modératrice. Je voulais saisir cette opportunité pour partager avec vous, avec l'Assemblée, les bonnes pratiques du Parlement burundais pour ce qui est de la solidarité parlementaire. Nous avons une commission des droits de l'homme des parlementaires qui a été créée pour justement soutenir tous ceux qui se sentent lésés. Et cette commission collabore avec les autres commissions de défense des droits de l'homme. J'ai oublié de me présenter, je suis la première vice-présidente de l'Assemblée nationale du Burundi. Et à ce juste titre, l'Assemblée nationale du Burundi, à travers des correspondances, manifeste sa solidarité avec des parlementaires victimes des violations des droits humains partout dans le monde. Nous avons aussi une commission permanente de la justice et des droits de la personne humaine à l'Assemblée nationale du Burundi, qui elle aussi s'occupe du respect de la justice et des droits de l'homme de tout un chacun, que ce soit les parlementaires qui sont dans le parti au pouvoir et aussi les parlementaires de l'opposition. Cette dernière commission collabore avec la Commission nationale indépendante des droits de l'homme ainsi que différents ministères qui s'occupent des droits de l'homme et de la solidarité nationale. Nous organisons souvent des séances de questions diverses pour que justement les députés et les sénateurs puissent s'exprimer sur des questions en rapport avec le respect des droits des parlementaires. Madame la modératrice, j'ai écouté les trois intervenants et je vais terminer en formulant une recommandation à l'endroit de l'Union interparlementaire pour que cette dernière crée une plateforme pour échanger régulièrement les bonnes pratiques de solidarité parlementaire afin de se soutenir mutuellement, éviter des actions qui sont fractionnées. Merci, je vous remercie. Voilà l'expérience du Burundi.
Thank you, Ms. Sabin, for sharing your experience in Burundi. I'm sure this is going to be very helpful, and especially the suggestion to create a platform. If you actually read the comment section, there are people that are sharing sites that have helped to us for those who may also know what's going on. I'll give this opportunity to Mr. Najib Said Ghanen. Please go ahead.
Yeah, that's really, thank you very much, really. I'd like just to open the camera, which really, sorry about that. Anyway, I mean, maybe I have just problem with the camera. Really, I just thank you for well organization of this session. Is it okay now? So you can see me?
Yes, we can see you.
Okay, really, I would like to draw your attention about what is going on in the Arab wars, not only in Yemen, but although we are suffering from huge crimes committed against MPs in Yemen, those who are loyal to the legitimate government in Yemen, which is recognized by the international community. We are in Yemen 145 MPs in Yemen, still working as MPs. All have been sentenced to death by the co-militias called Houthis, those who are in Sana'a. Not only just sentenced to death also, but they captured all assets, real estates, and other liquid assets. Also, I would like to draw your attention that we have also in Yemen civil prisoners, more than 5,000 prisoners in the prisons of Houthis, and also otherwhere in other areas. Anyway, I mean, I would like, to see loud voice from IBU and also other MPs all over the world who are supporting, fair and free, cases in favor of human rights. So many violation of human rights is in the Arab wars. As our colleague, his name is Fadi, also mentioned in Tunisia that the speaker is now in the prison, and also other MPs. Also in Gaza, in West Banks, by the Zionists, they have captured so many MPs. So we have in the Arab wars so many cases of crimes committed against humanity. Just draw your attention about this, and thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much for your brief presentation about what's going on in the Arab world. It is very well noted. Let me take this opportunity to give, I'll give a chance to Christina from APHR. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Millie. Hi, I'm Christina. I'm from the ASEAN Parliamentarians for Human Rights. It's a regional network of current and former parliamentarians who use their positions to advance human rights and democracy in Southeast Asia. And in fact, Honorable Sarah Ilago here is our member from the Philippines. So just for this discussion, I think I would just like to share the key things that we do at APHR to advocate for parliamentarians at risk in the region. So among the things that we do, and I hope we can find areas where we can collaborate moving forward. So among the things we do is, of course, to continue to monitor cases of MPs in the region who face attack just for carrying out their mandate as parliamentarians. So in fact, we publish a yearly report called Parliamentarians at Risk based on this documentation that we do. And we enumerate clear and direct recommendations on what can be done by civil society, by the governments, and other fellow MPs in the region. And of course, based on that, we continue to raise awareness through the media and through the public sphere. And we continue to conduct various campaigns and send out strong message from our members to call out abuses and attacks against parliamentarians in the region. In addition to that, we also try to carry out activities to help build the capacities of parliamentarians in the region, to equip them with relevant security measures to mitigate the impact of threats and reprisals against them. Also, I think one of the most important thing that I would like to share here is, of course, we do continuing inter-parliamentary advocacy. And in fact, I think Miatida Tun is here, and she was sharing about Myanmar in the chat. I saw that. So immediately after the Myanmar coup, APHR immediately mobilized its members and other lawmakers from around the world to form what is called the Inter-Parliamentarians Alliance for Myanmar. So then later on, we conducted what is called the Inter-Parliamentary Inquiry on the abuses and atrocities in Myanmar. So we were able to gather parliamentarians from around the world to do that inquiry, and later on really publish what should be done by the global society to address the crisis in Myanmar. And I think in addition to those, I would just like to say that I think among the attacks that we see now, at least for Southeast Asia, among the many trends that we see, I would like to cite two major things that we are seeing, or two major trends. One is judicial harassment against parliamentarians. So with this, aside from those items that I enumerated earlier, we also strongly advocate by mobilizing the voices of our members to review and repeal draconian laws which are still existing. A lot of these laws, for example, are the use of sedition laws, which are, of course, we all know are archaic in nature and very draconian. So we continue to work and advocate for the repeal of these laws, because these are the kind of draconian laws that are continuously being used against MPs and put them at risk. And then with this, we are currently working. We continue to engage with, at least in Southeast Asia, to engage with ASEAN. And in fact, right now we are looking into developing a human rights defenders mechanism at the ASEAN level. So we hope to continue this advocacy with ASEAN. And then the other trend that I would like to highlight is the attacks against MPs and even human rights defenders in online spaces. I guess, and I think we all agree that at this day and age, we cannot discount the influence of disinformation that goes around in online spaces. And those who intend to attack not only MPs but HRDs use these spaces to inflict harm. I think we have seen the presentation of Honorable Sarah earlier. So we consider this as one of our focus areas to ensure that relevant groups, including social media companies, we engage them, and of course we hold them accountable so that we create online spaces more free and more safe. Because I believe that attacks in online spaces are, of course, translated in the real world and really put our parliamentarians and human rights defenders at real risk physically. So I think that's it from our side. Thank you very much.
I keep forgetting to unmute myself. Thank you very much, Christina, for sharing very powerfully about what you're doing, and it's an excellent work from which we can actually learn and emulate. I want to encourage, because I'm seeing more hands coming up, if we can be very brief, because our time is almost up. So I'll ask MS Chebi, please go ahead.
Bonjour, merci beaucoup. Merci beaucoup pour cette réunion, pour soutenir vos collègues, les parlementaires. Moi, je suis tunisien. Après le coup d'État en Tunisie, il y a plus que 122 députés en danger en Tunisie. Il y a le président du Parlement en prison. Il y a 10 députés en prison pour des affaires bidons, parce que le putschiste Saïd nous a mis tous les parlementaires contre le coup d'État, c'est-à-dire il nous a fait une affaire de complot contre l'État, et nous sommes tous en danger. Moi, je suis en France, j'ai fait une demande d'asile politique parce que j'ai eu beaucoup de jugements militaires à cause de mes opinions, à cause de ma liberté d'expression. Malheureusement, après 2 ans, j'ai envoyé des lettres aux députés européens, aux députés français, mais je n'ai pas eu de soutien après 2 ans. Je n'ai pas pu avoir, c'est-à-dire l'asile politique ici en France. On a une doute, est-ce que la démocratie au pays occidental n'est pas la même pour les pays d'Afrique? Quand ça concerne un coup d'État en Afrique, c'est pas pareil qu'en Europe ou au pays occidental. Tout le monde sait que Kais Saïd a fait un coup d'État le 25 juillet 2021. Mais malheureusement, il n'y a pas eu de, on n'a pas eu vu de dialogue contre ce coup d'État. On n'a pas vu de soutien pour les parlements, les députés tunisiens, qui sont des députés légitimes. Kais Saïd nous met tous en prison. Il nous fait des affaires de complot. On voudrait bien savoir si nous sommes des députés légitimes ou non. Est-ce qu'on a le droit pour un soutien contre ce putschiste Kais Saïd? Et merci pour cette réunion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, MS Shabi, for your remarks. We hear you. We understand the situation in Tunisia, and we have noted. I'm sure the matter is with the committee, and with the challenges that we may be facing, the committee has noted. Let me take this opportunity to invite MS Abdullah Al-Khatab.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. First of all, I'd like to express my gratitude to the IPU for the efforts that have been made to protect the parliamentarians all over the world. And the points that I want to focus on and comfort, the point that my colleague spoke about, the suffering of Yemeni parliamentarians regarding the Houthis, militias Houthis, and their dictatorship and capturing, parliamentarians' properties, and hundreds and a half, of Yemeni parliamentarians have been sentenced to death, and we have been separated from our families, our children, and we become like displaced in many countries. I'm wondering, is this type, the type of this activity, like panel discussions and whatever, is it enough? Or condemnation, or like the decision that have been performed from the human rights on IP? I wanna confirm, and I want to stress that there has to be practical steps to resolve this problem regarding the Yemeni parliamentarians. We are suffering. We are in for 9 years waiting for something that should be happening, action that should be taken by IPU, or so. I appeal the IPU and my distinguished parliamentarians from all over to see and to feel what we are feeling, what we have been suffering in Yemen. So thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Abdullah, for the comments. We do appreciate and empathize with the situation in Yemen. And this forum may not be enough, but it gives us an opportunity to share, discuss, and share on ways that we can help. And I'm sure we have noted the things that you are saying. And from here, we'll see where we can put in an effort. Give an opportunity to Honorable Alice Cornia Sandy.
Hello, can you hear me? Yeah.
Is that Honorable Alice Cornia?
Hello. Yeah.
I'll give a chance to
Hello.
Alice first and then Miat Tida after.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I am Honorable Alice Konya Sandi from Sierra Leone. I am a newly elected MP. I first of all want to say a big thanks to the IPU for this session, as it is a very important one. So long as it has to do with human rights, it means it's an issue that has the interest of everybody. For Sierra Leone, there are laws, rigid laws that protect the human rights of the MPs. Our constitution provides, not only provides for the fundamental human rights and freedoms of individuals in the state, but it also goes further to provide for MPs. They are being protected unity from to have freedom of speech and debate for whatever they say in parliament. Also, MPs are being protected or have privileges from not being prosecuted for criminal or civil actions for whatever they say in parliament. So far in Sierra Leone, with the laws, MPs, I can say, because as a new MP, we have little or not much of a risk when it comes to the human rights, because there are laws that protect MPs. However, with the topic for this session, even though as MPs, we may not be facing it here in our country, it is important because it is about fostering human rights for other MPs around the world. And I think we all, as MPs around the world and the IPU, should come together to address these issues to enhance and also to maintain a healthy and functional parliamentary system. I think there are certain steps that can be taken by the IPU and even by MPs in their regional countries to ensure MPs under threats can be protected. First of all, I think regular dialogue is very important. It's a way to promote regular communication and dialogue among MPs, especially for MPs, including those in cross-party discussions for roundtable meetings. This will help facilitate understanding and consensus building around between them. Also, for cross-party collaboration, this encourages MPs from different political parties to collaborate on political issues and challenges. There should also be support for new MPs. As a new MP myself, I think if new MPs are being provided with orientation and mentorship programs to help, it will help them navigate the parliamentary environment and help build with colleagues devoid of their political parties. Also, there should be a conflict prevention, not only conflict resolution mechanism, but also a conflict prevention that can help establish early detection of these conflicts within parliamentary body that will help solve them before they even escalate. And finally, I think international collaboration, just like what the IPU is doing, is very, very important, because by way of collaborating with international parliamentary organizations and institutions, it helps MPs share their experiences like other MPs have done, and best practices, and which also strengthens the general parliamentary solidarity. And all of this will help enhance parliamentary solidarity, and which is actually an ongoing process that requires commitment from all MPs and their parliamentary leaders. It is vital for the functioning of a democratic state. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sandy, for your brief comments. And we wish you very well even as you progress with your mandate. Want to say we are going to take our last reaction from Miat Tidatun from Myanmar. Welcome.
Thank you.
Last but not least.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank the officials of IPU for inviting Myanmar MPs to this webinar. I'm Nyati Raton, an MP from Myanmar and the chairwoman of the IAN committee. This is my second term as an MP. Dear colleagues, I'm encouraged to be here with you. It is said, I'm sorry to hear that MPs around the world are facing the same risks as we Myanmar MPs. This definitely strengthens me that we must be more united. Please let me draw your attention to the risks that we Myanmar MPs are facing. As you all know, the military committed an illegal coup in Myanmar on February 2021. From that day on, we MPs are at great risk. There are 85 MPs who have been arrested in more than 2 years of the coup. 3 MPs died during the arrest. One of the victims was brutally tortured and killed. There are 17 MPs who died while fleeing from being chased by the military authorities. Amidst these difficulties, we Myanmar MPs are struggling together with the Myanmar people to remove the military dictatorship. I am one of them. The military dictators, military junta, still cannot control the country. Many areas of the country have been controlled by our revolutionary forces. We are very tired, but we will never give up. We would like to present to you our situation and how we are working and what we have done and what we will continue to do. And we would like to get your suggestions and your support and your solidarity. And so I would like to request the IPU officials, if IPU officials could hold a special webinar for Myanmar MPs, we would appreciate it on behalf of Myanmar MPs. So we want to keep in touch with our dear friends here. And I would like to inform you, 3 of my colleagues, MPs, will come to Angola. And thank you. I have sent my contacts to the chat box. I look forward to continue to work with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ametsida, for those remarks. And we stand in solidarity with you, and we look forward to meeting your colleagues in Angola. And I'm sure IPU will take up on the request to hold a webinar with your parliament. I want to say we are getting to the end of our enriching panel discussion. I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to the esteemed panelists and participants who have contributed to this discussion on the importance of parliamentary solidarity with parliamentarians who are at risk. Your thoughtful insights, experiences, and unwavering commitment to defending human rights and democracy are truly inspiring. Today's conversation has underscored the undeniable fact that parliamentary solidarity is not just a noble principle. It is a powerful force for positive change. It is a testament to our collective responsibility as parliamentarians to stand together, speak out, and act decisively in defense of our colleagues who face threats, persecution, and injustice for their unwavering commitment to democracy and human rights. As we conclude this discussion, let us carry forward the spirit of solidarity that has animated our conversation today. Let us redouble our efforts to advocate for the release of imprisoned parliamentarians, to amplify their voices, and to ensure their safety and well-being. Let us continue to collaborate across borders, transcending political divides, to protect the values that unite us in our shared commitment to democracy. The work of the Committee on Human Rights or Parliamentarians remains paramount in this endeavor, and we must support its mission wholeheartedly. Together, we can make a meaningful difference in the lives of those who tirelessly champion the cause of human rights and democracy. We thank you for your dedication and your unwavering commitment to this vital cause. We have heard you, those who have put their comments. We have heard you, those who have put the comment in the comment section. And as a committee, we will look into the concerns that you have raised. Thank you once again for participating. And we look forward to those who will be in Angola, to meeting you in Angola, and for the others who will meet either online or offline. Thank you and have a good morning, good afternoon, and good evening wherever you are. Thank you.
Thank you.